A long campaign is now.
This is the car market in Mogadishu.
NATO's military success against
many Western nations.
This is on assignment.
Welcome, everybody. We are back again with another show. I'm Alex Villarreal.
And I'm Imran Siddiqui. Coming up in the next half hour, Pakistan's informal economy. How does it work?
Then it's all eyes on the World Cup with a VOA reporter who was there.
We'll find out how a power plant in the U.S. is reducing its carbon footprint.
And seeing the world through Google-colored glasses. Yes, it is as cool as you think. On Assignment starts right now.
In Pakistan, most people work in a part of the economy that is unregulated and untaxed. This underground market includes businesses like barbershops and auto repair, which provide opportunities for workers with no education.
On the one hand, the informal economy can be seen as helping Pakistan's overall economy by providing services at a cheaper price. But millions of these workers not paying taxes means much less money for the state. Our Philip Alexio talked about the situation with VOA correspondent Sharon Bain.
On a good day, Jamil Hassan will have some 15 customers and earn an average of $8 a day. Hassan is one of the millions working in Pakistan's informal economy, the mainstay for the country's vast poor. He never went to school. Cutting hair is all he knows.
Nice. I've been doing this all my life. My father and grandfather did it before me, so this is what I do.
According to World Bank figures, about 70% of the laborers here work in the informal economy. That means they might have a small haircutting place under a tree, for example, or they work cleaning, or they're in the agriculture sector, or they're in the brick kilns. And it's actually a huge part of the labor here is informal. The problem with that is that they are not cushioned from any kind of economic shocks. You know, when they work, they earn whatever little money they do, and then that's it. They have no social net whatsoever, and there's no tax generated from any of that kind of work.
So this means that the Pakistani government, which is strapped for cash, does that mean that the government is actively trying to identify these informal entrepreneurs?
Well, it's a very good question, and there's some discussion about that. You know, so presumably they are trying to. A lot of these people aren't even registered. They don't even have an ID, an ID number. They don't have birth certificates or death certificates.
Mohammed Naeem works in a modest seasonal wheat mill when Pakistan's constant power cuts don't grind work to a halt.
I feel that people should not take loans, not owe money. That is very important. You should only use what you earn.
Naeem says he would like to have his own business, but he doesn't believe in bank loans or in savings.
What other people say here is that, well, actually the country benefits from that. It's cheap labor. It's you don't need to provide a pension or Social Security or anything like that. It's very cheap labor, and they provide a very cheap service, and that's very important in a country where it's a poor country. Most of the people are very poor.
So have the people that you've spoken with, I presume, are they just sort of used to it, or are they actually clamoring for some sort of a quote-unquote legitimate economy?
Well, I think they're used to it. But when I've spoken to them, they've said, yes, they would love to be part of the formal economy and get a regular salary and feel more protected. But there really is no way in for them.
About 40% of all workers in Pakistan have no education. Hassan says illiterate people like him will never make enough to be able to save money.
So where does Pakistan stand in terms of the rest of the world when it comes to investing in its own people?
In 2009, the World Bank actually came out with a report, and in 2009 it was spending something like 2.7% on education, 2.2% on health, which placed Pakistan about one of the lowest spenders on human capital in the world.
So how much criticism is the government getting?
There's a lot of criticism among some people here that the government is not doing enough to bring up these people on their education level and the health level and actually involve them in the formal economy and formalize the entire Pakistani economy. There is a lot of criticism of that. There is criticism that the government is corrupt, that they're actually making money off the back of these informal workers because they provide a very cheap service and they work very cheaply. You know, whether it's in the brick kilns or in the huge agricultural sector here, there is that criticism. It does exist. There's also criticism that the government is not collecting taxes from the very wealthy, that they manage to get enough loopholes that they're not paying taxes. There's been criticism that even the lawmakers don't pay taxes. So there's, you know, in addition to the informal sector, there's bonded labor here. There are people who are bonded for life. They work for life, trying to pay back money that they've borrowed, and that debt gets inherited by their children, who then are also bonded for life until that debt is paid off. But the interest rates are high, and they can't always do that. It's against the law, but it still goes on. I have to say that Pakistan, it's you know, is one of the, it is actually creating a lot of jobs for its people. It's just that those jobs are not in the formal sector. So there are jobs, like you said, you know, there is a demand for things, but it's the quality of the jobs that they're creating that people see as a problem.
All right, and economists say if Pakistan were to collect sales tax from these informal sectors, the revenue could account for about 4 to 5% of its gross domestic product, or GDP. So that's a pretty big chunk.
It is. We're taking a break now. When we come back, we get a first-hand look at the World Cup in Brazil. You're watching On Assignment. The drama that is the World Cup continues to unfold in Brazil. People around the world have been glued to their televisions, rooting for their favorite teams. And joining me right now is VOA reporter Ramon Taylor, who just came back from Brazil, and I'm sure it must have been an awesome trip. But tell us a little bit about the silence on the streets, because you reported that once the game is going on, you hear nothing but pin drop silence.
Well, thank you first of all for having me, Imran, and you're absolutely right. It was a very unique experience for that reason. Like nothing I'd ever experienced in certainly a United States sporting event, that's for sure. Silence on the streets, and that's because everybody is inside their homes, glued to a television screen, and that only lasts for a short while, keep in mind, because Neymar, he typically scores, and he has scored a lot in this World Cup. When that happens, the ambience just changes completely. Everybody floods the streets, people are setting off fireworks from their balconies and rooftops. I mean, the contrast between setting up for a game and until Neymar or someone else scores is really just an incredible evolution during that 2-hour match.
Fantastic. You also interviewed a family, a Brazilian family. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, just to give you a little bit of context, this was Brazil's second game in the group match against Mexico, as a matter of fact. And if you remember, that was a scoreless game, 0-0. But that didn't matter. That didn't change the fact that this was a huge celebration for this Brazilian family, who, above all, was happy to be in each other's company, to be able to share this moment, a churrasco, which is a traditional Brazilian barbecue, with family, with neighbors. It's a huge celebratory event, and win or lose or tie in this case, you know, everybody was there to show their pride. On the streets, you could see flags in the sky, chalk in the colors of their flag, green and yellow, on the streets. It was a beautiful experience to be a part of.
With regards to the money that's being spent on the World Cup, there's been a lot of protests about that. How has been public's reaction so far?
Once kickoff began on game one, Brazil versus Croatia, I think a lot of those protests subsided. Have those complaints gone away? Absolutely not. I think many of the concerns are very valid. Let's quickly look at the numbers. $11 billion spent on the World Cup, $4 billion of which were spent specifically on 12 stadiums in the country. Some of those stadiums were not completed by the time kickoff occurred on game one. And other stadiums are located in such remote regions of the Amazon and of Brazil that will not be used past this World Cup. So there's a lot of complaints from people who think that money could and should be better spent on healthcare, education, infrastructure, and many other public projects. Now, again, will Will they continue to protest? Yes, it's been in smaller numbers, but a lot are saying maybe this is not the right time. Maybe we should wait this out, because I'll tell you, a lot of Brazilians think that one thing that's worse than spending too much money on a World Cup is spending too much money on a World Cup that they don't win. So there are very high expectations there.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Ramon Taylor, VOA News correspondent. We're moving on, taking a break. On the other side, a coal-fired power plant changing the way it makes electricity. You're watching On Assignment. The U.S. government has proposed new rules to reduce carbon emissions from the nation's power plants. But energy companies have already been converting older plants to cleaner technologies because they think it makes economic sense.
Well, VOA's Brian Patton visited one of these power plants in Virginia, which has converted itself from the state's oldest coal-burning facility to one that is now powered by natural gas. And it's all part of a bigger strategy for power generation, as Brian told me when we talked.
The trains that run through rural Virginia no longer deliver coal to the Bremo Power Facility. The plant's coal conveyor will soon be dismantled. Natural gas now powers the Bremo station. The $53 million conversion project was undertaken in part to comply with existing environmental regulations.
It's interesting because, when you look at just a basic headline on this story, it's converting from coal to natural gas. So you wonder, is that going to be the trend here? What does this mean for the coal industry?
The power company officials told me that it's not so much that they want to move to gas exclusively, that it's more so that they want to have a diversity in the future. They want to be able to have coal. They're developing solar. They're developing wind plants. They have a proposal to build a wind farm off the coast of Virginia. They want to build more nuclear. So they're saying we need it all.
Ed Bain, Dominion Power's vice president for power generation, says converting this plant to gas was also part of the company's long-term business plan.
We want to make sure that we're doing what's right to keep rates low for our customers, improve reliability, and also protect the environment.
Bain says in part because Dominion converted Bremo to gas, the company was given permission by state regulators to build a new coal-burning plant elsewhere. LG Holstein, with the Environmental Defense Fund Advocacy Group, says it is unrealistic to ban coal completely.
The new coal-fired plants that are being built in America today are much, much cleaner than these 40 and 50-year-old plants. Still, even that new coal-fired generation is going to be much more limited because there's so much cheap natural gas around.
So this idea of clean coal production will continue.
The government is pouring lots of money into developing clean coal technology. Environmental organizations will tell you we need that, because even if we move from the U.S. exclusively to natural gas, countries like China and India are still very reliant on coal. So we need to develop some affordable, clean coal technology, and if we can do it here in this country, they say, we can sell that technology overseas.
Wow, so there are a lot of things then in the works here with new energy technologies.
There's a lot of forward thinking about what we need in the future. I asked about new development of new technologies, and they told me that they have nearby the world's largest battery. Now, when you think of a battery, you think of some high-tech piece of equipment.
Metal.
Right.
Yeah.
But what they're talking about is this huge reservoir of water that they can feed like this into an electrical turbine when the need occurs. So when it's a very hot day or a very cold day and they need extra electricity, they can just let the water flow through that turbine and increase their electrical capacity. They're developing wind and solar, not so much because it's the most affordable and economical today, but they want to know what it's going to be like in the future.
What's the government's role in all of this?
The government, both the state and the federal government, work very closely on a number of levels. Power companies in most of the country are utilities. They're monopolies to a certain degree. So there's a lot of oversight on the economic side, there's oversight on the environmental side. In Europe, you see a similar amount of oversight about pollution and climate change. But in the developing world, we don't see a lot of oversight, and that's where there's a lot of concern for global warming in the future.
Right, and after this experience, Brian, going to this plant, you've done other environmental stories before. What do you see as being the future here?
I agree with what they've basically said, is that there is no one fuel for the future. What was also interesting, though, is the basic technology, no matter the fuel, is the same. It's all about heating water to create steam, because once they create the steam, that is what moves the turbines, that creates electricity, and that's the technology that's been existing for 100 years.
And our thanks, as always, to VOA's Brian Patton. Now, natural gas production has been booming here in the U.S., and that's thanks mostly to hydraulic fracturing technology, or fracking, up 35% since 2005.
Now, speaking of new technologies, what do you get when you cross a pair of glasses with a computer? Google Glass, of course. It's one of several wearable technologies that have been creating a buzz lately.
Well, one of our colleagues has been using Google Glass in her reporting, and she showed me how it works. Take a look.
I'm VOA's Carolyn Pursuti, and this is Google Glass. Here at VOA, we've been given Glass for use in news coverage. These correspondents are hard at work, producing packages with unique and different angles. This right here is Google Glass. So you wear them just like glasses, and as soon as I put them on, they turn on. All right, and this shows you exactly what I'm seeing. So I'm actually screencasting on my phone. So as I go through the choices, see, that tells me that I'm connected to the wireless network.
So you're seeing something right now.
I am, right through this prism right here. That's the camera right there. All right, and I'm going to tell it to basically tape you. There we go. So I'm recording this segment as well, and you can see it in what's mirrored on my phone.
So I see this lens point here. So the idea behind Google Glass is what? What's the purpose?
Well, it's wearable technology. So if you can imagine it, it's like my iPhone is part of my head, right? But I'm looking through my iPhone. If I were taping on my phone, I wouldn't be able to see you so well, right? I'd be looking into it like this, but I can literally see through the picture at you.
Here's what you see on Glass when it first starts up. The first page says, "OK Glass." Now, by simply saying that, "OK Glass," see what happens? I've switched the display to a menu.
You've done a number of stories using Google Glass, a number of reports. What would you identify as being some of your favorite moments and these unique capabilities that you have using this technology?
Well, one of the most interesting ones that we just did was we took Google Glass on the mall, and the Washington Mall, and we decided to find out what people thought and to get their impressions. So I'm recording you right now.
This woman worries about Glass secretly taping her children.
For every pervert in the nation to see. I wouldn't want that.
There are concerns, though, about this technology because you can videotape. Just you're sitting. It almost looks like you're wearing some kind of space-age techie glasses, and you can videotape. So what are the concerns that people have about it?
Absolutely, there are concerns, and in fact, when you go outside, you can wear these lenses, and so they look like sunglasses. So you don't really know.
You don't even see, yeah.
Right, it's very difficult to see, especially if I'm far away from you. So the concerns are, I may be taping you when you don't want to be taped. I may be going into an area where I shouldn't tape, and the person who's wearing the glasses is taping surreptitiously.
Man, I think when you walk around here, you're always on camera.
One of the stories that you did that was one of my favorites is you got a chance to talk to and feature the group Pentatonics, the a cappella group, very talented group. They've become extremely successful on YouTube. What did you do with them?
I asked the lead singer to wear Google Glass.
So tap it, 707, tap it.
Prior to the group's Washington, D.C. concert, I went backstage to teach lead singer Scott Hoying how to use Glass to record video.
So Scott Hoying wore these glasses, and he introduced them to the audience, telling them that Voice of America had given them these glasses, and he said, I'm going to do this whole song with you all, and you're going to help me.
I feel like a Star Trek character with these on. I'm really excited.
It was fascinating to see from a performer's perspective.
It's interesting
There's
because I
people-
can see a little square of the screen when I look at you. I can sort of see a reverse image of what you're seeing.
And that's how when other people wear it, that's how I can tell if they are seeing anything. Especially if I don't have my smartphone with me. Then you want to try them on?
Yeah,
so you
I'd
can see?
love to,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, why not? This is my first time. This will be my first time trying these. So let's see. Okay. Obviously,
Tap it
I'm
again.
a new user. Okay.
Swipe down.
Okay.
Swipe down to get out of it.
Okay.
Did you hear
I
the
heard
whoosh?
a sound, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. What do you think is the future of this?
But I think wearable technology is going to take off in various ways. You may see cameras on your contact lenses, or you may be talking into your watch maybe more.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to come up with, but I'm sure it's going to sort itself out probably in the next 10 years. But this is definitely the future. It's small, it's compact, it's just one of many wearable technologies out there, and that's why we're using it at VOA. We're trying to figure out which technology works best for us to show the viewer our best stories.
Oh, it's a camera. She gotta do like this to it. I can see myself right there.
Such a fun story to do. I have to say that was my first time ever seeing and holding and trying on Google Glass, and I am just so grateful that Carolyn was there to take me through it. It's kind of complicated, actually.
It doesn't come with a lens, right?
No lenses unless you put them on for the sun. So you can make them into shades, sunglasses.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty cool.
Give it a shot. For our next story, we enter the world of martial arts. The sports imported from East Asia have long been popular in the United States.
Yeah, actually, it's funny we're talking about this because I took a few years of Taekwondo myself, which of course is a Korean form of martial arts. But what we're about to show you now comes from Indonesia, and it's being taught here in the U.S. VOA's Marissa Melton gives us the blow-by-blow.
The founders are brothers, Nate and Mike Zalesnik. The movements and instructions are in native Indonesian. Unique to this class, the students use Javanese words as they learn Merpati Putih. Located in Ogden, Utah, and established in 1999, it is the only such school in the United States. Mike Zalesnik says they try to teach the students more than just self-defense.
So we teach all of the movement, all of the techniques for breathing, for fighting, for everything in Bahasa Indonesia. Really to share the culture of Indonesia and the beauty and the people and the aspect. You know, this comes from a very long lineage of royalty in Indonesia, so we like to share that with everybody and really get them thinking outside of the box and willing to step up and travel and explore and have fun in the world, because there's a great big playground out there, and Indonesia is an amazing treasure.
They have more than 150 students, and none of them are from Indonesia.
Whoa.
Nate Zalesnik says breathing techniques are at the core of the training for adult students. Strength gained is tested by breaking stones, iron, and more, based on the level of the student. But breaking things is not the main appeal for some students, like Tammy Anderson.
I'm a physical therapist and I do a lot of healing at work, and so I actually got into this more for the healing side. I spent a lot of time fighting when I was growing up, and I really don't like to hit things. I've spent 10 years trying not to hit things, and so I really didn't want to break them.
Teachers and students say Merpati Putih, which means white dove, is not so much about fighting as it is about reaching one's true potential. For Alam Burhanan, I'm Marissa Melton, VOA News.
All right, everyone, we are just about out of time, but before we leave you, I want to remind everybody to watch On Assignment anytime on the Programs tab of our website, voanews.com, and don't forget to check us out on Facebook and YouTube.
Thanks so much for watching On Assignment. Until next time, goodbye from Washington.